time?
I have no idea what the future holds.
Okay.
I see no future in being pessimistic, because that leads you to say, then to hold it. Why should I care? And I believe that way disaster lies. So I feel an obligation. It's the only way you can get up in the morning is to believe that actually we can do something about it. And I suppose I think we can. Whether that is optimistic or not, I don't know, and whether in fact it's going to produce a result or not, I don't know. But that's the only way I can operate, that I have to get up in the morning and say, something has got to be done, and I will do my best to bring that about.
Well, as we saw, the Scottish Conservative MP Stephen Kerr was asking that question as a member of the Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy Committee, and he's with me now. Welcome to you. Obviously very high profile, and we saw after that pictures of plastics, but I mean, basically, do you agree that in spite of the commitments to a climate change emergency, in spite of the commitments to going net zero carbon by 2050, UK government not doing enough?
Well, can I first of all say that yesterday, having Sir David before our select committee was an event in itself. Sure. The public gallery was absolutely packed with young people, predominantly, in fact, almost exclusively young people. And it just indicated how energised the younger generation are about this issue, the future of our planet. In answer to your specific question, it's very clear on the basis of evidence that action is not marrying up to rhetoric. It's all right to talk about these things. It's all right to pass resolutions and put things into law, to publish reports. But we actually need to marry up the ambition with a real plan. And it needs to be across government. So government is, I'm afraid, notorious for operating in silos. There's never been an issue upon which we need more joined up government, not just in Whitehall, but also between the London Whitehall establishment and the devolved administrations and local authorities throughout the United Kingdom.
But I mean, that basic target of net carbon neutrality by 2050, is that good enough? Well, no, it is very good that we've put it into law, but I mean, the work is yet to be done. And what this committee report highlights in its annual report to Parliament is that we are falling short in just about every one of the areas they highlighted a year ago. I think there were 25 areas, only one of which has actually been accomplished. And in some areas, very little, if any, progress has been made at all. So there is this mismatch. As part of talking about it, as Mary Cray has pointed out, a lot of the recommendations coming from official bodies are not being adopted by the government.
No, they're not. I mean, you can make the case around the distraction that we currently have with Brexit, and the sooner we can turn the page on that, the better, because while Brexit is the issue of the moment, climate change is the issue of our generation. Are we going to rise to the challenge of protecting and securing, conserving and making our planet sustainable, or are we not? Now, I'm proud that the UK Parliament has set the bar very high when it comes to legislating, but now we need government and Parliament, and we need to be across the House. It needs to be across parties. I mean, you can see what can be achieved, for example, in Scotland, where across the Scottish Parliament there have been policies that have been agreed and will be sustained whoever the government of Scotland is, in relation to things like housing, in relation to things like planting trees. And these are areas where, in the rich mix of devolution, it would be well for the UK government to take a lesson from north of the border.
I mean, in this context, you talk about cooperation between assemblies. Clearly there were European Union policies on this.
Yeah.
Is Brexit going to help or hinder our efforts, do you think, in this country?
If we do not take steps to strengthen the union and the way the union works, which I believe is now policy imperative for the next Prime Minister and his administration, then I fear that we will have too many loose ends. We actually need to galvanise the strength that devolution gives us, which is now the strength of the union. So something positive has to be done in Whitehall to change the mindset of the civil service and the administration in Whitehall in relation to how they work together with the devolved administrations.
Now, as we face this global warming issue, this climate change issue, and other environmental issues, because I mean, plastics is clearly a big problem, something Sir David was talking about, but not directly related to this. What are the solutions? Well, in terms of plastics, one policy area that we should escalate is the introduction of a deposit return scheme for plastic bottles, for example. Now, here's a classic example where the devolved areas and the UK government are operating in their own space. What we need is a system of government that brings all of these ideas together, where there is lifting and shifting and copying and pasting, so that we have a single system ultimately for the UK. That's something that can be done very quickly if there's the right level of intergovernmental cooperation, and also if there's the right level of involvement with business. We have to listen to the businesses that are involved in this, and we have to listen, for example, in this scheme, to the retailers.
What about on climate change, mass reforestation? I mean, that seems to be the most efficient way of doing it, if we could do that globally. Well,
trees are nature's way of capturing carbon and storing it. So I think we do have to elevate tree planting. We have to do this on the basis of a coordinated policy across the UK. But the reality is, Adam, that in terms of forest cover, the UK has the least wood in terms of trees and forests than any other country in Western Europe. And we should do something about that. We should make planting trees a national mission.
Are you disappointed we've heard so little about this pressing issue during the Conservative leadership contest?
There has been references in passing to climate change,
passing, yeah.
But the issue of the moment is Brexit, and that has concentrated the minds of the leadership candidates for understandable reasons.
Do you have any idea of what the choice is in this area between Mr Hunt and Mr Johnson?
Personally, I don't. I couldn't give you any insight into the differences in their approach. I actually hope that they would have the same approach and that we can have a cross-party approach to this. This is an ideal topic for our country to come together and to set itself the task of demonstrating what we've shown in the past. When we led the world in the Industrial Revolution, we have a unique responsibility to take the lead in cleaning up the planet.
Stephen Kerr, MP, thank you very much for joining us. Let's have a look at the weather.